Hi everyone, and welcome to day one of this 30-day Fit and Health Challenge. Thank you for joining. I wanted to kick off this challenge by doing a tutorial on the core. So the core is such a crucial part of training, it's such a crucial part of every exercise that we do, that I wanted to dive into it a little bit more today, explain exactly what it is, go through a whole bunch of progressions so that we can kind of feel it out, and everybody can see how it should feel, and get some tricks into how to activate it properly. And then finish off by giving you guys a few little exercises to practice and to strengthen your core with. So when we talk about the core, we're actually talking about some really small, deep muscles. They connect to your pelvis and they help you control your whole trunk area. So they help you move your hips, they help stabilize your spine, and they help us get into a nice aligned position where everything is stacked one on top of the other, instead of, let's say, something like this, or something where we're rounded here. Okay? So there is a big difference between your core and if you're talking about your abs or your six-pack muscles. So your six-pack muscles and your abs are superficial, which means that they just kind of lie on top of everything and they look good. So if you have a six-pack, it doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to control your core and all those deep muscles that actually connect to your pelvis. But you can also have a super strong core and not necessarily have a six-pack. So they don't go hand in hand, which is a common mistake that some people think they do. Okay? So when we talk about the core and we think about the trunk, I want you guys to think about it as a big box. So in the front here, we have our transverse abdominis, or what we refer to as our TA. So this is the muscle that most people have trouble activating, and it's the one that we're really going to focus on a little bit more today. Right? On our sides of the box, we have our oblique muscles. In the back of the box, we have our spinal erectors and our QL muscles. Closing the bottom of the box here, because we're thinking about kind of a cube, is our pelvic floor, and then closing in here and controlling the top of the box is our diaphragm. Right? So all our breathing muscles and through our ribs. So that, if we can know how to control all of those, we'll make sure that you guys have a super strong core, and that every time you guys do exercise, you can control your spine, you can make sure that everything is protected here, and we can get in a nice neutral position. Okay? So we're going to start by doing some progressions on the floor. Okay? I find that this really helps get people a good understanding and really be able to feel what we're trying to go for here, because they don't have to think about balance, they don't have to think about when they're standing and how your hips or anything are twisted. Okay? So the very first thing I'm going to get you guys to do is to go on your backs. Okay? We're going to have our feet flat on the ground, and you're going to have your knees bent. So what I want you to do is put your fingers, try to find your hip bones. Okay? So they should be sticking out a little bit. It should be nice and hard, and what I want you to do is to go about an inch below your hip bones and kind of push in there, and it should be really soft. So we're looking for that squishy spot. Okay? And what we're going to do, which might sound a little bit weird, is that I'm going to get you guys to cough. Either cough or laugh, they both do the same thing. Okay? So here, pushing down in that squishy area and cough. Now what you guys should have felt is that area underneath your fingers just got a little tighter and actually pushed up against your fingers. So what that is, it's actually the only core muscle that we can feel. Because the core muscles are so small and they're so deep, there's really just that one area where we can feel a true core muscle. So we're going to use that as an indicator for a couple of our next progressions. Okay? Next thing we're going to do is, with our fingers over that squishy spot, is without coughing. Now I want you guys to think about squeezing that area under the fingers and pushing that area up. Okay? Now to help with that, what you could do, or what I want you to do, is to slightly twist your hips. Okay? And when we do that, that low back is going to get completely flat to the ground. If I relax, I have some space here, just kind of my natural curvature of the spine. But now if I tighten that TA and put my spine into neutral and squeeze under my fingers, there's no space here. I've got all this nice and tight. Okay? Very important to note that although we do want to use our hips as a tool here to kind of help with our core activation, we don't want to overturn our hips. So if I'm in kind of my relaxed state, I have a bit of a curvature in my spine. Reason I'm twisting my hips into what we call an anterior tilt is that I want to get my spine neutral. Okay, so if I try to tighten my TA in this kind of booty pop position, it's not going to go very well, but I don't want to overturn and then be rounded through my spine or my shoulders. Okay, so when I do say turn the hips, it is a very small movement, so keep that in mind. All right, so now back on the ground, we're going to do a few of those in a row. So I like to call these vacuums. We're going to keep our fingers over that squishy spot. Okay, we're going to push the low back into the ground, we're going to squeeze under the fingers, and we're going to relax. Okay, and then once again, push the low back and squeeze under the fingers, and relax. And now if you guys forget that feeling, just start coughing again, okay? And then hopefully we'll start to develop how to squeeze that finger without coughing eventually, but it's a really good tool to get the feeling that we want, okay? So one more here, squeeze. We can hold this one a little bit longer, and then we're gonna relax, okay? So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna incorporate our breath into the exercise. Once again, feet flat on the ground, fingers in that squishy spot. I'm going to do my vacuum where I'm going to push my low back in the ground, squeeze that area under the fingers. As I breathe in, I'm going to draw that knee up. And then as I breathe out, I'm going to keep the tension under the fingers and bring the heel back to the ground. Now that is the trickiest part, because a lot of people, as they come down, they just want to relax everything. Okay, so that's what we're trying to teach our body not to do. So we'll do it on the other side here. We're going to squeeze under the fingers, push the low back into the ground, breathe in, breathe out, bring the heel back to the ground. Good, relax everything in between these reps. We really want to practice squeezing and releasing. Okay, ready? One more each side. So we're going to squeeze under the fingers, push the low back in, breathe in, and breathe out, and relax. Good, tighten up. Breathe in, draw the knee up, and breathe out. Keep that tension under the fingers here, hardest part, and relax. Perfect. So now we're going to pull our knees up into the air, and we're going to start moving towards an exercise called a dead bug. So the next 4 exercises here are all progressions of the dead bug, which we will come back to at the very end of the workout, because that's going to be one of the exercises I give you guys to go home and practice. Okay? So our first variation, we get those knees here at 90 degrees, and my arms are going to be up. So 2 things you could do with the arms is either leave them right here, or pull your shoulders off the ground, keeping your neck nice and neutral. So this might irritate some people's necks, so if that's the case, then just bring your shoulders back to the ground. No big deal, okay? So first variation here is if I'm kind of relaxed in this position, I have my natural curvature of my spine, and I'm going to do my vacuum with my knees up. So I'm going to pull my low back into the ground. I'm going to feel that tension through the front of my body, and then relax here. And then pull and relax, okay? So that would be kind of our vacuums in our dead bug position, okay? Our next variation, we're going to pull. Now we're going to keep this tight the whole time. So I never want any space between my back and the floor. And I want to always feel that tension through the front body. Okay, and now from here, I'm going to keep my knee at 90, and I'm just going to drop, touch my heel, and then pull back. Do that on the other side, drop, pull my heel, and come back. Okay, so now if you get to a certain point and you start feeling your back peel or this front body stretch, that's either why we need to stop right before that happens, or we just need to squeeze a little bit harder as we drop the heel. Okay, one more on the other side. I'm squeezing, I'm keeping that low back nice and tight, and I'm going to come back. Perfect. So we have 2 more variations of the dead bug left. So we'll come back with our knees up high, our hands are stretched. Again, we can peel the shoulders off the ground, or we can keep them on the floor. And now this time, to make the exercise harder, I'm going to kick my leg out and I'm going to pull it back in. Now as I kick out, again, no space between my low back, and I'm feeling that tension here through the TA, and I'm gonna come back. Okay, so if you guys feel, just gonna back up a little bit here. So if you guys feel that, let's say I'm good, and then here I start feeling this, everything open up, I'm just gonna stop right there. Okay, your foot doesn't have to go all the way to the ground. Just go as far as you can, keeping the core tight. Okay. Now my last variation here, same starting position, and now I'm going to extend my leg and my opposite arm. Okay, so now we're creating a lot more length through the front of the body, and it's a little bit more hard to work to keep this core nice and tight. And come back. One more on each side, so I'm really squeezing that low back into the ground. And if you guys aren't at this variation yet, no big deal. You have the other variations to work on until we can get to this guy. Okay, and same thing for that last one. Maybe your arm's almost touching the ground, maybe your heel's almost touching the ground, or maybe it's not quite there yet, and we're just going a few inches away from the body before we pull it back in. Okay, so only go as far as you can with that low back tight to the ground and feeling the tension through the front of your body. Okay. Next up, we're gonna stand up against a wall, because when we do all this stuff on the floor, it's great, and you can really start to feel all those muscles working. But when we eventually do exercises standing up, like a squat or a lot of other exercise variations, we're not gonna be on the floor. So it's really nice for that transferability to be able to do some of the progressions on the wall. The first thing I want you to do is stand maybe a feet or two away from the wall, and you're just going to lean here, touching your head and your shoulders to the wall. And you'll notice that again, that natural curvature of the spine is gonna come out here, and there will be a little bit of space between your spine and the wall at first. So what I want you to do here as our first progression is just a hold. So kind of like a vacuum hold. And we're going to tilt the hips, push that low back into the wall, and here try to feel that TA activating. From that standing position, I still want to push this fleshy part here out and squeeze from the front of my body. And we're just going to hold, and then we're going to relax. Okay? So the next thing I'm going to do is add a little bit more dynamic aspect to it, and we're going to come in and out of that tense position and relaxed position. So I'm up against the wall, my shoulders are flat, okay? My feet are not touching the wall, but they're a couple feet away, and I'm going to flatten out that low back, squeeze the front of my body, and relax. And flatten and squeeze, and relax. Now again, how I said before that the hips are moving, they're not over curving the back. So what I don't want to see is this whole full body crunch, or here where my butt's actually coming off the wall. Okay, it should still be flat, and your butt should still be touching the wall once you've done that little bit of a hip shift. Okay, so we're going to do one last progression to this exercise, and it's actually going to be putting our spine into neutral, flexing through the core, and then moving down, kind of doing a wall squat. Okay, so here, shoulders are back. I'm going to flatten out my low back, and I'm squeezing here through the front of my body. And then I'm going to slowly slide down, and I'm going to keep this tension up on the wall, keeping the front of my body tight, and then slide back up. And at the very top, I don't want to let everything loose. I want to keep everything nice and tight. Okay, so we'll do one more. Just go as low as you can. How low you go doesn't really matter. Just want to add a bit of extra movement, getting us used to keeping that nice tight core through movement. Okay, so shoulders back. I'm going to flatten my back, tighten through the front, slide down, keep everything nice and tight. I'm squeezing, and I come back to the top here with my back still flat. All right, so now that we've done all our progressions for the core, for our dead bugs, hopefully you guys have a good understanding now of how to activate your core, and you're starting to feel a little bit more comfortable with it. So what I'm going to do before I finish off the video is give you 3 exercises, 2 exercises which you've already done today, And I want you guys to go do those after the video is finished, just to practice. And you guys can do them throughout the day. You guys can do them before you start working out. And they're really good for building that core strength. So the first one, just a little review because we have done this one, is the breathing exercise. This is actually really good to build the neural pathway that we need because we're incorporating the breath with it as well. So fingers in that squishy spot, we're gonna tighten, breathe in, draw the knee up, and exhale, bring the foot back to the ground. All right, so I want you guys to do 5 reps per leg. After that, we're gonna have what's called a McGill curl up or McGill crunch, same thing. One leg is gonna be straight, one leg is gonna be bent. And now the reason that this is such a good position is that our hips are automatically in that neutral position. It's really hard from here to overturn or over curve in either direction, okay? So from here, I'm gonna put my palms up to the ceiling, straighten out my arms, I'm gonna squeeze my stomach and that TA muscle, and then I'm gonna reach up, peel my shoulders off the ground, and come back down. And we're gonna do 10 reps here per side. And then the last exercise I want you to do is your dead bug variation. So we're either doing the heel tap, kicking the leg straight out in front of us, or doing the leg and the arm at the same time. And for the dead bug, I want you to do 5 reps per set. All right guys, thank you so much for joining for day 1 of this 30-day challenge. I kicked it off with a tutorial. Tomorrow we have a full body workout. So looking forward to see you guys then, and enjoy practicing your core exercises.